really good. You guys have heard me say the joke about like the greatest thing about working on Spider-Man is working on Spider-Man, but the hardest thing is working on Spider-Man.
That's
It's
John
because we
Perquette's
all
line, right?
have
Wasn't
that. We all came at from that character through different ways. Some of us just read comics. Some of us just watched the cartoons. Some of us, some people just the movies, and then, and then it's like comic, was it like the early 80s? Was it now? Was it, so I think we all have different influences, but I think what we tried to do was, what are the common characteristics, the relatability, the vulnerability, the sense of humor, that push and pull between his two different worlds. If we can, I think no matter which version of Peter Parker Spider-Man you like, those are the common factors. So making sure that the game that we were creating, the vision that we had, hit on all those major points. And if the team felt like we were hitting those pretty well, it was okay that maybe it's not the exact Peter Parker you had in head, because in most ways he really is.
Gotcha.
And it's something we go back and forth. I mean, to this day. I mean, we talked about it, and obviously when the game was earlier on, it was much more of a discussion and how we tweak things. But yeah, it's something we think about a lot, especially early on, and we want to make sure that we have a pretty big team, and like you said, a lot of people care about this character, and if the team's not buying in, then it's going to be really hard to make it. So we worked really, really hard to make sure that everybody was on board with it.
So Gashoy has a very kind of nitty-gritty specific control question. Is Spider-Man able to instantly get on a roof after a wall run by holding circle without flying into the air?
Yeah, okay. So you want a wall run and then just be right on top of the roof?
Like basically, yeah, just like coming up over the lip and just you're on your feet rather than being launched off the side.
Okay. I know you can do it. I just, in my head, sometimes we don't have the control in your hand. You can't figure out how, like, that button input.
Yeah.
So, but you just kind of go right to the top.
Cool.
If you're running up that wall, can you immediately just go into a crawl?
Yeah, you just stop, just let go of the input, and then you'll just stick to the wall.
Awesome. You know what? We have a video question for you. Let's take a look at that right now.
Hey, Brian. It's me, Greg Miller from KindaFunny.com. If you're on Game Informer, you know me. I'm Greg Miller, trending game of the year 2015. It was a long time ago, doesn't matter. KindaFunny.com. Brian, my question was, for a while I was dressing as a shirtless Spider-Man, hoping you'd put that costume in the game, and you didn't. So I was wondering if you knew anyone at Crystal Dynamics working on the Avengers game, and if they needed any mocap help for any unspecified Avengers characters.
Oh God, Greg's the best. Greg is the best, guys. He's so funny. That's a great question. I know Sean, who now works at Crystal, and I will definitely do everything I can to make sure that Greg represented in Avengers.
And if you do have that fan-created costume or suit contest, Greg Miller, get drawn, man. You can do it.
I did. I saw that artwork there. It said like the hero we deserve or something like that. That was it was amazing. Oh God, that was awesome. That was great.
Our next question comes from Luke FX. I realized that you removed the One World Trade Center from the game. Why? I love New York, and I was so happy when I discovered the tower in your trailer and the first gameplay. Why did you remove it now? And why do you show it in the trailer and the first gameplay?
It was actually, it is in the game. It's just when through development, sometimes buildings get turned off, turned on. It was probably just a bug in the capture, but it's in the game.
Yeah, and I can confirm we saw it when we played the game. It was definitely in there.
Yep, it's in there.
Here's a question from Arg Gamer Dude.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a pirate?
Sure.
I don't know.
Arg.
How much input do you take from fans?
Well, we're all fans, first off. So, I mean, I think we all definitely, but I mean, I think one of the things, just an example, we are always looking at stuff and hopefully responding. You guys remember back at last E3, some people were worried that the swinging was too slow. And we actually, there were some things we looked in the numbers and we actually made some adjustments, and it's actually was at D23 where we showed new footage, it was actually much faster. So I would say we're definitely looking. I mean, every game we've ever made, we're always looking at what the fans are saying. Sometimes we can do things, sometimes we can't. It's just kind of It depends on the topic.
Okay, and I bring that up because one thing I've seen from everybody, I could not believe how often I saw this, is so this question comes from everyone everywhere.
Can I guess it? Can I guess it?
Yeah, go for it.
Is it fall damage?
Yes, exactly.
Of course. Yeah. So it's something we talked about a lot about, and some people will be happy, some people won't. We are not going to have fall damage in the game.
What about an option? Could it be?
No, we're not going to add the option. We talked about it. We're not going to add the option for fall damage. For us, it was about making sure that everybody feels like a superhero. Remember, this is a Peter Parker 8 years older. He's been doing for 8 years, and we not only from that standpoint of feeling like a superhero right away and not punishing players who may not get onto it. There are certain situations where we didn't want to run to. You could be, swinging as fast as you can through the city, and all of a sudden you see a shootout down the street, and say you web zip down and you want to get into the combat, but for some reason you're a little bit too high, and now you're starting to fight, with less damage. We just didn't want to punish players for feeling like a superhero. So I know for some people it's really, really important. For us, we just want to we felt the best decision for the game that we were making was to not include fall damage.
So animation-wise, does he splat or does he always roll out of it no matter how you hit the ground?
He actually rolls out of it. He actually rolls out of it, but then we also have one of our upgrades is where you can actually, if you land and you kind of press the button at the right time, he can actually spring up and continue moving, either traversing or moving forward.
Awesome.
Gotcha. Lindsay Stanton asks, can we manually make Spider-Man perform classic poses while web swinging through, an upgrade or something?
Classic poses, like just manually doing stuff, no, but there is something you can do that we'll reveal later in terms of when you're swinging around.
Cool. Like later in this interview?
Yeah. Later and before we ship, or
Gotcha.
maybe after, or when we ship.
Arthur Gomez, is the Baxter building in the game? Any references to Marvel's first family?
That we do have Marvel. We have Marvel landmarks in there. The Baxter building is not in there.
This comes from Neosism. Will Spider-Man, and you kind of told me some of this, Brian, by the way. I'm not very clear on it. Will Spider-Man's suit rip and tear when he takes damage? I think you said it was only during story sequences?
Yeah, we have specific moments in the game where it will get damage. We just felt like for the game that we were making, specifically, we wanted. Remember, he is a superhero. He kicks some major butt, and there will be moments where he's facing adversaries or situations that are really tough on him, and we wanted to use that to help communicate the severity of the situation. So we felt like in specific moments, you'll see that damage.
And it
won't be like every single time you have a combat fight, you'll have rips in the suit.
And in those moments, if you have a different suit on, the damage will be on every suit in the game?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's one of the reasons why we have it in specific moments. Yeah.
Gotcha. Evanesco wants to know, how much of the game's activities are playable after the story is over?
Anything you didn't finish before the main path, you can go back and finish.
Great. Rams HBK asks, also, can we go to the Statue of Liberty in the game?
No, you cannot.
This one comes from everyone everywhere again. If you're holding onto your web line with great velocity, can you spin around in loops?
We don't have that specific move in the game.
Gotcha. So this is one that we just talked about this a second ago, so we know the answer. we know the answer to the second half of this question, but Beanie Boy wants to know, will there be multiple difficulty settings? And if
Yes.
so, there will be. Okay. And then they're just to have the full question, their follow-up was, will the hardest difficulty have fall damage? I'm guessing I know the answer to that.
No,
Gotcha.
it won't.
BME Gaming asks, will there be references to real New York sports teams like the Yankees, Mets, etc.?
No, because we're gonna have our own sports teams.
Oh.
Hmm.
This comes from Bethesdaware, but again, this is a question from everyone. Why did Insomniac decide to not include a day-night cycle into the game?
For us, we thought that, well, I mean, the truth is, this is a very story-heavy game. And as you guys know, a lot of great games use time of day, weather to communicate a certain feel, vibe to the situation where you are in the story. So we wanted to make sure that we were communicating a certain feeling to the player while they were first making their way through the main story. That being said, when you do finish the game, you can actually change time of day and weather yourself manually.
Awesome.
That's awesome. That's going to make a lot of people happy. Some people asked for that. They wanted like the cycle, but I think that's going to make a lot of players happy. They want to see the game at night, especially if they're doing photo mode. That came up a bunch where they want to kind of have the right lighting.
I can't wait for you guys to see photo mode when it's done. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm very excited. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it was a creative choice. And I know some people, day-night cycles is important. We just, for us, in terms of the story we wanted to tell, we wanted to be pretty specific. But also at the end, after you kind of complete the main story, we want to give players the freedom that they have to, like, oh, I really love Sunset. I want to play game for us Sunset. Go for it.
Gotcha. And speaking of completing the story, Radio Bed has a pretty simple question. New Game Plus?
We'll see. I'm not ready to talk about Game Plus just yet.
Gotcha.
I'm going to ask another question on top of that. Maybe you said your favorite Spider-Man game is Neversoft Spider-Man. They didn't do New Game Plus. They did What If mode.
We don't have a What If mode.
Come on.
I remember. I forgot about that mode completely until you just said it. That's a really cool idea.
Yeah, it was like you'd go back like into the game and there'd be different things. You'd see like Ghost Rider going up like a building. Loved it.
That's really cool. Man, I forgot about that.
Just delay the game a couple months.
Put
it in.
Yeah, that would make everybody, including Greg Miller, super happy that we changed the date.
Speaking of that, Spider-Man, is the easiest difficulty called Kid Mode?
No. Or I actually think the writers right now are coming up with the terminology for it. So I don't know, but I like the idea of Kid Mode, but it's not Kid Mode.
Friend of the show, Evan Falarka, asks, the prequel novel of hashtag Spider-Man PS4 Hostile Takeover is said to feature characters like Echo and Blood Spider, along with the game being set in Marvel's New York. Will we see a medium or large amount of references to the wider Marvel universe? Avengers Project? ?
Well, I'll say to Evan, and hi, Evan in the Spider Squad, I will say that this is a Marvel New York City. Just think about that.
So I got here one from Vecchio.
Man, you guys have just got questions after questions.
Yeah. We're almost done.
No, it's okay. It's great. Great. I'm glad people asked.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this, Brian. People are really interested and excited about this game.
I've heard.
I've heard. So Vecchio wants to know, will there be an in-game encyclopedia/database? And if so, what types of material would be in it?
Yeah, so I would say that Spider-Man is a super popular character, yet we know varying levels of knowledge from fans. So we will take care of those people to make sure they understand who these characters are and the universe that we're building.
And when we were there, you didn't quite have the name yet for the crafting materials or tokens or whatever they were going to be. Is that something that's been finalized yet, or is that still TBD?
Still TBD.
Okay.
Yeah, it might end up being tokens and maybe end up being something else. It's game development.
And then you have any more questions, or?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you ask that one first.
DJ Quackman asks, J. Jonah Jameson has a radio show, but can you listen to different stations, or are the radio shows scripted to the moment?
For this game, we're going to have just J. Jonah Jameson. Just the Facts is going to be the show that you'll be able to listen to, and it will happen at various times in the game. Sometimes it'll be scripted, sometimes it'll just be random chance you'll be swinging around the world. He'll chime in.
Cool. And then last question I have, Zangmaster asks, will there be web pits?
That's the most important question.
I love that question, and it's something we totally debated about. He will not have web pits in the game.
At Kyle M. Hilliard on Twitter is asking, what is a web pit?
It's where where in the very early design
like
where he
armpits. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I think I meant like a pit in the ground full of webs.
I'm not buying it if there are no pits in the ground full of webs.
Yeah, we don't have those kind of pits either.
Oh, confirmed. Scoop.
The last question we have for you, and thanks again for your time here, Brian.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. Thanks for having me. And guys, you guys did we really loved all the footage and the features over the month. We really appreciated the support, and it was awesome. It was really cool. Like every day, I'd be like coming in and checking which feature you guys were doing. So the studio really enjoyed everything you guys did.
Cool. Very cool. Well, thanks again for having us. And this comes from Gray Slayer 204. What are your plans for E3?
You'll see.
Can you confirm we'll see new gameplay?
Well, it would really. I think everybody would be pretty disappointed if we just said we were going to show the same thing that we showed you guys. So,
will we see the bottom of the statue that comes with the collector's edition?
No.
That's going to be a surprise yet. Wow, that's getting close to launch.
The statue, yeah. The statue's a big spoiler.
So what's under that thing?
Something.
All right, Brian. Thanks for your time again, and best of luck finishing up the game. And hopefully, we'll see you again soon for some more updates on Spider-Man.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian.
Cool. Thanks so much, Brian. Appreciate it.
Of course, guys. Thanks so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Hey, how were you okay with 100 questions? I know you were really nervous going into that
you
one.
Guys
were you
did,
happy with
you
it?
guys did an amazing job editing it. Thank you for making me not look so silly. I appreciate it.
I was fishing for a compliment there.
No, it was awesome. It was really good. I loved it. I loved it. I thought it was really good. I told you guys I was most nervous about it, but Leo, you guys did a great job, and editing it was awesome. It was fantastic.
Yeah, you guys were great.
And my family definitely appreciated how I became a creative director story. So,
good.
My dad's actually here visiting, and he was watching it, and he was like, "Oh, so that's how it happened." I'm like, "Yeah, exactly." It was really cool. So thank you very much.
Yeah,
absolutely, man. Well, thanks again, and we'll see you at E3, right?
All right, yeah, of course. I'll see you guys there. And have a great weekend, guys.
Yeah, you too, man. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Leo, do you want to talk so we can make sure we can hear you?
Yeah, let's just
I'd love to talk.
Do you want to talk about ventrances? Like my perfect favorite ventrance?
Yeah.
All right, perfect.
Maybe if you have a personal one you can speak to. Or...
Sure. Got it.
Thank you.
I know you love the lines so much. I figured I would just repeat it.
Damn it! He listened to our discussion.
You're not supposed to listen to any of that stuff.
That was private.
Assume it's good. You liked it.
Is there anyone who doesn't want me dead?
Rated Teen. Welcome to Just the Facts with J. Jonah Jameson, the only show willing to drop truth bombs on our so-called hero, Spider-Man. On the phone, we have...
Your friendly neighborhood anonymous citizen.
Okay, citizen, tell me, have you noticed the insane uptick in crime since Spider-Man entered the picture? Why, my sources confirm that just yesterday, there was a store robbery, a shootout, and a runaway vehicle, all in the same day! And what do you think they all had in common? That menace in tights, Spider-Man.
Hey, fellas. Well, did you think that maybe he was trying to help? It feels like there's more and more crime every day.
I'll say, and it's all because Spider-Man thinks he's some kind of spider cop. You know what cops don't do? Escalate things. But no, not Spider-Man. He runs around causing chaos, wearing a mask and a costume to feed his gigantic, insatiable ego. In fact, he's been seen wearing several. Pick a look.
Maybe each suit serves a different purpose.
Oh, what? Like granting him obnoxious sonic powers, web spray, holographic duplicates? Give me a break. Listen, citizen, the police play by the book. Spider-Man, he plays by his own rules.
Hey, where you going?
Sources tell me that he's running around town using unsanctioned experimental gadgets like trip mines, spider drones, and something called a web bomb. Where does he even get the stuff?
Maybe he makes them himself.
Ha! Spider-Man? The genius scientist! That'll be the day. My point is that the fine men and women of our police force understand that crime can be resolved without constant mayhem. Sometimes a discreet approach yields better results. And by that, I mean not putting citizens in harm's way.
Yeah, but I doubt that's what he's trying to do. I gotta go.
Caller! Apparently, he had somewhere better to be.
Hey, big guy.
Jameson out!
PlayStation.
Oh, baby, hey, baby, oh, baby, look so good. Oh, look so good.
Hey there, Spider. Long time no see. Miss me?
Felicia.
Catch me if you can. PlayStation.
Rated mature.
We need to end this.
Spider-Man on PS4 delighted me at nearly every step of its 15-hour adventure, with a surprisingly deep tale focused on the plights of both Spider-Man and Peter Parker. The story combined with exciting web-swinging, web-based gadgets, and web-centric puns made for plenty of great action. Insomniac Games' superhero outing is a thrilling adventure, though one occasionally caught up in a web of overly familiar trappings. At its core, Insomniac Games' adventure strives to make you feel like Spider-Man, and thankfully, it succeeds at nearly every swing across Manhattan's rooftops. Swinging around feels quite simply spectacular. There is definitely a small learning curve, but after learning the basics, it becomes nearly effortless to make Spider-Man look graceful in every swing, leap, and lunge. And man, does it feel good to find the right mix of leaping, swinging, web-zipping, and wall running. I've spent hours just webbing around the city and diving off the tops of the Empire State Building or Avengers Tower, enjoying the open city without actually completing tasks. That feeling of fluid movement only really falters in boss battles. Insomniac throws in some big and exciting fights and set pieces full of tense action, and a few harmless quick-time events, of course. But the story's biggest boss battles are both front and back-loaded, leaving the middle of the story sort of devoid of huge bouts. That pacing feels off, especially when the first couple of boss battles begin to feel like somewhat repetitive pattern recognition. So thankfully, outside of boss battles, Spider-Man offers up a satisfying, varied combat system, though it takes a little longer than I would have preferred for it to show its depth. Spider-Man's mix of gadgets, attacks, and dodges made me feel like I always had control of a battle, and I loved improvising mid-fight with new equipment and moves. Insomniac is known for its wacky arsenals in series like Ratchet and Clank, so it's no surprise Spidey's gadgets are a blast to use. Throwing a trip mine at an enemy to webstick them to the environment, or, even better, another baddie is endlessly enjoyable. And discovering how best to deploy web bombs and spider drones in the many stealthy Batman Arkham Asylum-like scenarios is a methodical thrill. Adding to that variety is Spider-Man's wardrobe, a portable closet of unlockable Spidey suits, each with their own power. Each power can be used independently of the suit once it's unlocked, which is a godsend. That said, I largely relied on the first couple of suit powers for almost the entire campaign. The power to fill out your focus meter for special finishers or to restore health was so useful, I didn't want to give it up, and I never felt like the world actually encouraged me to use the other powers. I much more often swapped out the useful suit mods to adapt to specific side challenges more than I ever used different suit powers. Spider-Man's New York is an absolute blast to swing around, in part thanks to how gorgeous the shiny skyscrapers of the city look, particularly on a PS4 Pro, and because of how the Avengers-like theme music swells at just the right moments. The fun of the side objectives scattered throughout the city varies greatly. Taskmaster's tough challenges kept me coming back, while finding landmarks and backpacks was particularly easy and rote, and taking down various enemy outposts could be repetitive and rarely challenging, but still kind of fun.
Anyone want to surrender? No?
The brilliance of what the world could have been can be seen in a handful of side missions. One optional mission features a familiar villain and ties really nicely into the main story. Another suite of missions forced me to actually have a good sense of New York's neighborhoods. These side missions help bring the world of Spider-Man and its open New York City to life, and I wish there were more of them. I was pleasantly shocked by how relatable Spider-Man's endearing story of mentorship was. The twisted tale of Peter's mentor, juxtaposed with his own mentorship of Miles Morales, led to great emotionally poignant moments, in part thanks to how I immediately became as attached to Miles as I did to Peter.
I mean, come on, you saved Spider-Man. I'm pretty sure that makes you an official superhero.
Meanwhile, Peter's tutelage as a laboratory assistant leads him, and Spider-Man, to make some harrowing choices that are as thrilling as any high-stakes moment in the MCU.
Sorry, I have a habit of making bad jokes in tense situations.
Insomniac makes